welcome to Basic Electrical Engineering online classes. Topic of this lecture is equivalent circuit of single phase transformer. In previous lecture, we have discussed about the EMF equation of the transformer. There we have considered the ideal transformer, and we have also shown the phasor diagram of the ideal transformer at no load condition as well as at loaded condition. So in this lecture, we will discuss about the practical transformer. We will also draw the phasor diagram of the practical transformer at no load condition as well as at loaded condition, and then depending upon the phasor diagram, we will draw the equivalent circuit. So let's start. So first of all, we will consider the practical transformer on no load condition. Before we consider the practical transformer, let's see what is the ideal transformer. We have already discussed that for an ideal transformer, the winding resistance should be zero. There should be no iron loss, that means the hysteresis loss and the eddy current loss should be zero. There will be no leakage flux, as well as the permeability of the material, core material should be constant. So we have assumed R1 and R2 is equal to 0. That is the resistance of the primary as well as the secondary winding. Iron loss means it is the sum of hysteresis loss and eddy current loss, and this value should also be equal to 0. There is no leakage flux, and we consider the permeability is constant. So these are the points that if a transformer satisfies this point, then we will consider the transformer as ideal. But in real life, the ideal transformer is an imaginary concept. The transformer cannot be ideal. So let's see the circuit diagram of the practical transformer, where the secondary side is opened. That means no load is connected across the secondary winding, and we supply the voltage in the primary winding. It is V1. So when we connect the supply voltage in the primary winding, where the number of turn of the primary side is N1 and the number of turn in the secondary side is N2. So here a current will start to flow in the primary winding, and this current is represented as I0. This is called the no load current. It is considered as a no load current because here no load is connected in the secondary side. It can be seen that when the transformer is operated at no load condition, then the current flowing in the primary side is only 2 to 10% of the full load current, or we can say the rated current. That means if we connect the load and if the transformer operates at full load condition, then in that particular case, the primary current is considered as I1. But when we run the transformer at no load condition, then the current in the primary winding will be only 2 to 10% of the rated primary current. But as this current is flowing through the primary coil, then a mutual flux will be developed that we have already discussed in case of ideal transformer. The same concept is also here. A mutual flux will be produced and that will flow through the high permeability core material of the transformer. As the voltage is alternating, so current will also be alternating. Therefore, the mutual flux will also be alternating. That means it will change with respect to the time. And when this changing flux flow through the core, it will cut the primary winding as well as the secondary winding. Therefore, the EMF will be induced in primary as well as in the secondary side. We have already discussed during the EMF equation that the RMS value of the EMF in the primary side is represented by E1, and the RMS value of the induced EMF in the secondary side is represented by E2. Here we have considered that the mutual flux which is the factor of time, is represented as a sinusoidal quantity. So it is represented as phi max sin omega t, because this flux depends upon the alternating current. And corresponding EMF induced in primary as well as in the secondary, it is represented as E1 max sin omega t minus 90 degree, that is the EMF induced in the primary side. This is the expression. And similarly, the expression of the EMF in secondary winding is E2 max sin omega t minus 90 degree. As it is considered as practical transformer, then definitely there will be some resistance of the primary as well as in the secondary winding. So let's say the resistance of the primary winding is R1 and resistance of the secondary winding is R2, and these values are not equal to 0. Now let's see what will be the phasor diagram of the practical transformer on no load condition. As we have already seen that the mutual flux is considered as the phi max sin omega t. So in the phasor diagram of the practical transformer also, the mutual flux is considered as the reference in the phasor diagram. So here it is the phasor of the mutual flux, that is phi n. According to the induced EMF in primary and secondary, we can see that the EMF induced in primary and secondary is omega t minus 90 degree. That means the EMF induced in primary and secondary will lag the mutual flux. So this is the EMF induced in the secondary side, A2, and this is the EMF induced in the primary side, it is E1. Here we consider the N1 is greater than N2. That means number of turn in primary is more than the number of turn in the secondary. Therefore, the EMF induced in the primary will be greater than the EMF induced in the secondary side. That's why here it is E2 and here it is E1. Now, the EMF which is induced in the primary, this induced EMF will be supplied from the source. That means in the source voltage, there should be a part of the source voltage that will compensate this induced EMF. That means in the source voltage, there should be one component which will be equal but opposite of this induced EMF according to the Lenz's law. In ideal condition, when there was no losses, we consider V1 is equal to E1, that we have considered in case of ideal transformer, because we have considered there was no losses. V1 is equal to minus E1. But here again there will be a voltage of the primary which will be equal but opposite of the induced EMF, but it will not be equal to V1. It can be considered as V1 dash. We can consider it as V1 dash, which is equal but opposite of the induced EMF in the primary side. Now, here we consider, in ideal condition, we consider the permeability is constant. So in ideal case, when the permeability is constant, then the relation between V versus H, which is equal to V is equal to mu H, it should be a straight line passing through the origin. But in actual case, we know that there will be a hysteresis loop that will be created when an alternating flux or alternating magnetic field is produced in the material. So we know that this is the hysteresis loop, where B is in the y-axis, which is proportional to the flux, that is the mutual flux. and H, that is the magnetic field intensity, it is proportional to the current. Here the current means the no load current. Consider the point D here. If we start from this point, we can see that when the current or the magnetic field intensity is gradually increasing from negative side, because here both the magnetic field intensity and the flux density are negative. So from this negative side, it is gradually increasing, and at the E point, the magnetic field intensity becomes zero. That means the no load current I naught will be equal to zero. But when the current is zero, then also some amount of flux will be present in the material, but it will be in the reverse direction. This is called the residual flux. So the concept of the residual flux is that when the current is zero, then also there will be some flux present. Further, if the current or the magnetic field intensity is further increased, then at F point we can see that now the current becomes positive, but flux becomes zero here. This is the corrosive force that we have already discussed in the BH characteristics lecture. So ultimately, from this hysteresis loop, we can conclude that the current which is responsible to produce the magnetic field, it will lead the magnetic field. That means I naught should be leading the mutual flux by some angle. So here it can be seen like this. So this is the no load current which will lead the mutual flux by a angle of alpha. This is called the hysteretic angle. Now, as this current makes some angle with the horizontal line, so we can resolve this current into two components. One should be in the horizontal line, another should be in the vertical line. So its horizontal part will be here, and this component is represented by Im. This is called the magnetizing current of the transformer. If you remember, in ideal transformer, we have shown only Im. We have not shown I naught there. We have shown only the Im in case of ideal transformer. And this Im current is responsible for this flux production. So in practical transformer also, the current Im will flow and it will be in phase with the phi m. There is another component that will be along the y-axis, and this component is considered as IC. That is called the core loss component of the transformer, core loss component of the primary current. Here in practical transformer, the hysteresis loss as well as the eddy current loss, both losses will occur. We know that the hysteresis loss basically because of this hysteresis loop, and we have also discussed about the eddy current loss. So these two losses, if we represent in terms of current and the resistance of the core material, then the current is considered as IC. This is called the core loss component of the primary current. Now, in the primary side, the current I naught is flowing, and this current is flowing through the primary number of turn N1. And here the resistance of the primary winding is R1. So definitely there will be a voltage drop in the winding of the transformer, and this voltage drop, as it is in the resistive element, then this voltage drop should be in phase with the current I naught. That means the phasor diagram of the voltage drop in resistance of the primary winding should be in phase with the current I naught. This can be drawn here. Here we have drawn the voltage drop, which is I naught into R1. That is the voltage drop in the primary winding. And definitely it will be in phase with the current. So it should be parallel. As the primary winding is in shape of coil, so definitely there will be some reactance also developed. This is called the leakage reactance, and in this leakage reactance, the another voltage drop will occur, and it will be considered as the inductive leakage reactance. So in case of pure inductance, we know that the current lags the voltage by 90 degree. Therefore, the voltage should lead the current by 90 degree. That means the voltage drop that will occur in the leakage reactance of the primary winding, it should be in the leading position. So it is shown by this phasor. It is I naught into X1, where X1 is considered as the leakage reactance of the primary winding. Now in the primary side, if we consider the relations between the voltages, then V1 dash is the amount of voltage which is equal and opposite of the induced EMF. I naught R1 is the voltage drop in the resistance. I naught X1 is the voltage drop in the reactance. And all these voltage drops will be compensated, to be supplied by the source voltage V1. Therefore, if we join all these voltage drops, we will get the primary supply voltage, that is V1. So here if we write the voltage equation in the primary side, it will be V1 is equal to E1 plus I naught R1 plus JX1. So this is the voltage equation of the primary side of a practical transformer at no load condition. The I naught is the combination of IC and IM, that is the core loss component of the current and the magnetizing current. And these two currents are 90 degrees along each other, so it can be written as IM square plus IC square. So this is the phasor diagram of the practical transformer on no load condition. Let's see the practical transformer on loaded condition. So now here we have connected a load across the secondary winding. Rest are remaining same, that means the supply voltage is V1, the number of turn is primary side is N1 and in secondary it is N2. EMF induced in primary is E1, in secondary side it is E2. The mutual flux that will be produced is phi M, and at no load condition we have seen that the current flowing is I naught. This amount of current will also flow through the primary winding when the load is connected. The resistance of the primary winding is R1, the secondary winding resistance is R2. Now see the secondary part. Here we have connected a load. As we connect the load, then the secondary circuit is closed and the EMF is working as a source for the load. So a current will start to flow in the secondary side. This will be the current flowing through the load, represented by I2. And there will be a voltage across the load. It will be represented by V2. The load here can be resistive, it can be inductive, or it can be capacitive. And the magnitude of the secondary current depends upon the terminal voltage and the load impedance. Similarly, the phase angle between the secondary current and the voltage depends upon the nature of the load. That means here the load can be of any type. It may be purely resistive type, it may be resistive inductive, it may be resistive capacitive also. Whatever may be the type of the load, depending upon the nature of the load, the relation between current I2 and the voltage V2 will be calculated by using their phase angle. That means if it is a purely resistive load, then the current I2 and voltage V2 will be in phase. If it is resistive inductive, then I2 will lag V2, and if it is resistive capacitive, the current will lead the voltage. Similarly, the magnitude of the current I2 will depend upon the induced EMF as well as the voltage across the load. That we will discuss step by step later. So therefore, we consider a load here. Let's say the nature of the load is resistive inductive. This is the nature of the load that we have considered. Because this type of load is most common in the application, we consider the resistive inductive load. As it is the resistive inductive load, then definitely the current I2 will lag the voltage V2. So let's draw the phasor diagram of the voltage and the current first. So here it is the voltage V2 and the current I2 will lag the voltage. So this is V2 and this is I2. Let's say the current is lagging the voltage by the angle of phi 2. This is the phase angle of the load. As the current I2 is flowing in the secondary winding and the resistance of the secondary winding is R2, so definitely a resistive voltage drop will occur in the secondary side. So this resistive voltage drop should be in phase with the current. Therefore, here it is the resistive drop in the secondary winding. This is I2 into R2. It can be considered as V2 and here it is I2. Similarly, the secondary coil which is also have some leakage reactance, and in this leakage reactance again some voltage drop will occur, and here the voltage drop will lead the current by 90 degree. So this is the voltage drop in the leakage reactance of the secondary side. It is represented by I2 into X2, where I2 is the resistance of the secondary winding, X2 is considered as the leakage reactance of the secondary winding. Therefore, the voltage relations in the secondary side is, first of all, the EMF will be induced, then different losses will occur, that means the resistive drop and the reactive drop, and then the voltage across the load will be used. So if we add voltage across the load plus all the losses, then it will be equal to the induced EMF in the secondary side. It is represented by this phasor. So this is the EMF induced in the secondary side. The EMF induced in the primary side will also be in the same phase. So let's say here E2 is equal to E1. Let's say we consider the number of turn in both primary and secondary is same. Here it does not matter whether N1 is greater than N2 or N1 is less than N2 or N1 is equal to N2. In all conditions, the EMF induced in primary and EMF induced in secondary should be in phase. In the phasor diagram, both phasor will be in the same line. We have already seen in previous cases that the mutual flux which is responsible for the EMF E1 and E2 which is induced in primary and secondary winding, this mutual flux will lead the induced EMF, because we have already seen that E1 and E2 lag the mutual flux by 90 degrees. Therefore, here the mutual flux will lead the induced EMF, so it is the mutual flux. Now, in the primary side, E1 is induced in the primary winding, so there will be a part of the supply voltage which will be equal and opposite of this induced EMF that we have already seen in no load condition. So here it is the part of the supply voltage which is equal and opposite of the induced EMF in the primary winding, which will basically compensate the EMF which is induced in the primary side. Now, as we have seen that during no load condition, the current which is flowing in the primary winding, this current leads the mutual flux. that you have already seen in previous slide. So here it is the no load current I naught. Whether the transformer is operating at loaded condition or no load condition, in all conditions there should be I naught present in the primary winding, and I naught will always lead the mutual flux by the angle of alpha, that is the hysteretic angle. Here we have already seen in previous phasor diagram that I naught has two components. One is Im, that is the magnetizing current, which is in phase with the mutual flux, and there is Ic, which is in the y-axis, and it will consider as the core loss component of the primary current. But here in this phasor diagram, we have not shown these two parameters. Now, as I2 current is flowing in the primary winding, where the number of turn is N2, therefore a magnetomotive force will be produced in the secondary side, and it will be the product of secondary current and secondary number of turns. So a magnetomotive force will be produced here, that is F2. In ideal condition, during loaded condition of the transformer, you have seen that when a magnetomotive force is developed in the secondary side because of the load current, another magnetomotive force developed in the primary side, which is responsible to compensate this value, compensate the magnetomotive force which is developed in the secondary side, so that there will be no change in mutual flux phi m. So if F2 is developed in the secondary side, its equal but opposite magnetomotive force will be developed in the primary side also. So this is the value of F1 dash, magnetomotive force, extra magnetomotive force which is developed in the primary side. And this magnetomotive force will be developed by another current which is considered as I1 dash. This is considered as the load component of the primary current, where F1 dash will be equal to I1 dash into N1. So it can be seen that as the load is connected across the secondary winding of the transformer, the primary current will be automatically increased. That means I1 dash will now start to flow. If the load is gradually increasing, I2 will be increasing, and corresponding I1 dash will also be increasing in the same proportion. Therefore, the I1 dash will be produced in the primary side. So now in this case, in the primary winding, there are two different currents are flowing. I naught, which is called the no load current, it will always flow in the primary side, whether the transformer secondary is connected across the load or not. But I1 dash will flow when the secondary side is loaded. Therefore, the net current that is flowing in the primary winding is considered as I1, and it should be the summation of these two currents. In the phasor diagram, it can be shown by this phasor. So here it is I1. It is the summation of no load current and the load component of the primary current, I0 and I1 dash. Now, the current that is flowing in the primary winding is now I1. And when this I1 current is flowing through the resistance of the primary winding, then definitely there will be a voltage drop. And this voltage drop will be again in phase with the current. So here it is I1 into R1. That is the voltage drop in the primary winding because of the primary current. And as we have already discussed, there will be a reactive voltage drop also. So this is the reactive voltage drop in the primary winding, and it will be I1 into X1. And hence the voltage relations in the primary side will be the EMF induced in the winding, its value, plus resistive voltage drop plus reactive voltage drop. And if we add all these values, we'll get the supply voltage, that is the V1. Here it is V1 dash, that will be equal but opposite of minus V1. So this is the complete phasor diagram of the practical transformer on loaded condition. From this phasor diagram, some equations are developed. First is the voltage relations in the primary side. It will be written as V1 equal to E1 plus I1 into R1 plus JX1, where E1 is the induced EMF in the primary winding, I1 is the primary current, R1 is the resistance of the primary winding, and X1 is the leakage reactance of the primary winding. Similarly, the relations of the voltage in the secondary side is E2, that is the induced EMF. It should be equal to the voltage across the load plus secondary current into secondary resistance and secondary leakage reactance. So from this phasor diagram, we can see that it is V2 plus I2R2 plus I2X2, and that will be equal to E2. So here these are the voltage equations in primary side as well as in the secondary side. Next is the current relations. In the primary side, the primary current is the phasor summation of I1 dash and I0, where I1 dash is called the load component of the primary current and I0 is called the no load current. Remember one thing, I1 is the total primary current at loaded condition and I0 is only 2 to 10% of the I1. It is only 2 to 10% of I1. So I1 dash is the main part of the primary current, which is depending upon the load that is connected across the secondary winding. If the secondary load is increased, current will be increased in the secondary side and corresponding current I1 dash will also be increased. We have already seen the relations of the no load current, that is I0. It has two components, that is the magnetizing current and the core loss component of the current. So I0 can be written in this way. Remember one thing, whether it is the practical transformer or ideal transformer, it will always follow the transformation ratio that we have already seen earlier, that is V2 by V1 is equal to A2 by E1. It should be equal to the N2 by N1, that is the number of turn in secondary upon number of turn in the primary, and it will be equal to I1 by I2. And this is the transformation ratio. So remember, the transformation ratio is also applicable for practical transformer. So now see the phasor diagram of the practical transformer for different type of load. Let's say the power factor is unity. The power factor unity means the nature of the load is resistive type. So when the load is resistive type, that we have already seen in the previous lecture, previous slide, the current and voltage relations will be both will be in phase. So here V2 and I2 are in phase. So other phasors will also changes according to their relation. It will be I2R2, it will be I2X2, and so on. The load is resistive inductive that we have already discussed. Then the nature will be like this. And if the load nature is resistive capacitive, so this will be the phasor diagram. For resistive capacitive load, here the current leads the voltage. So this is the voltage in the secondary side, voltage across the load, and this is the current which is leading the voltage by some angle of pi 2. In case of resistive inductive load, voltage is here and current is lagging by pi 2. And here the purely resistive load, so voltage and current are in phase. Basically, the nature of the phasor diagram of the shape of the phasor diagram will be depends upon the nature of the load that we can see from these three relations. Next is the equivalent circuit of single phase transformer. So consider the practical transformer at loaded conditions where it will be I1, it will be the mutual flux, EMF induced in primary and secondary, current in the secondary side, and the voltage across the secondary side. Now, using these values, we will draw the equivalent circuit of the transformer. So before we draw the equivalent circuit, once again see the phasor diagram that we have already discussed. So this is V2, here it is I2 R2, it is I2 X2, this is E2 as well as E1, it is I2, it is I2 into N2, or we can write F2, here it is F1 dash, here it will be I1 dash, it is I0, it is I1 phi m, it is V1 dash, that is equal to minus V1, it is I1 R1, I1 X1 and V1. So this is the phasor diagram that we have already discussed in previous slide. Remember one thing, I0 also have two components, one is IN and another is IC. In equivalent circuit, you have to consider these two currents also. So here is the equivalent circuit. V1 is the supply voltage, R1 and X1 are the resistance and reactance of the primary winding. The current flowing in the primary side is I1. I1 current is combination of two different current. One is called the I1 dash, another is called I0. That is the no load current and the load component of the primary current. I0 also have two components. One is IC, another is IM. Then here it is the EMF induced in the primary side as well as EMF induced in the secondary side. The current flowing in the secondary winding is I2. The resistance and the reactance of the secondary side, this is the load, so voltage across the load is V2. If we want to check the equivalent circuit, we can check it using the phasor diagram also. So first of all, it is V1 is equal to E1 plus I1 R1 plus JX1. So R1 and X1 are the resistance and reactance. Current I1 is flowing, so definitely a voltage drop will occur. And if we add the EMF induced in the primary side with this voltage drop, it will be equal to the supply voltage. Similarly, in the secondary side, first of all, the EMF will be induced, then the voltage across the load, and then the voltage drop across the resistance and the reactance of the secondary side. We also see that the I1 has two components, where I1 equal to I1 dash plus I0, and I0 is also of two parts, that is IM and IC. So all the parameters we have already seen in the phasor diagram, they are drawn here, except R0 and X0. Here we can see that IC is in phase with the primary side voltage. It is almost in phase with the primary side voltage. And we know that the current is in phase with the voltage, means the element should be the resistive. That's why the current IC is represented, which is flowing through a fictitious resistance, that is R0. Similarly, the current IM, that is the magnetizing current, it is lagging the primary voltage by 90 degrees. This is the primary voltage and it is lagging almost by 90 degrees. And current lag the voltage by 90 degree for inductive circuit. Therefore, Im is considered to flow through a inductive reactance X naught. So here R naught and X naught, these two are the fictitious parameters, and these are called shunt branch parameters. That means R naught is considered as the shunt branch resistance and X naught is called the shunt branch reactance. As the core loss component of the current is responsible for the core loss in the material, so it is considered that R naught is the resistance of the core. So it is a fictitious value. Similarly, phi Im, which is responsible to produce the mutual flux, and is considered to be flowing through a coil, solenoid coil. That's why here it is considered as the X naught. Again, this is a fictitious value. So this is the exact equivalent circuit of a practical transformer at loaded condition. There are some other forms of the equivalent circuit. So let's see. In previous circuit, we have seen that the two parts, that means the primary and the secondary parts, are not interconnected. They are not electrically connected. Therefore, if we want to calculate the losses or other parameters, we have to calculate it separately, both in the primary side as well as in the secondary side. But if we join these two circuits and make a single circuit theoretically, that we can do. And for that, we have to transfer all the secondary values to the primary side or all the primary values to the secondary side. Now, if we transfer all the secondary parameters to the primary side, then the secondary parameters will be changed according to the primary circuit. In this case, it will be considered as the equivalent circuit of the transformer referred to primary. Referred to primary means the secondary parameters are changed referred to the primary side parameters. Similarly, if we transfer the primary side parameters to the secondary side, it will be considered as equivalent circuit referred to secondary. That means here the secondary circuit parameters will be constant, but the primary side parameters will be transferred to the secondary side and their value will be changed according to the secondary parameters. So first discuss about the equivalent circuit of the single phase transformer referred to primary side. So here we will transfer all the parameters of the secondary to the primary side. That means the primary side values will be remain same. So V1 is the voltage, supply voltage, I1 is the primary current, R1 is the primary winding resistance, X1 is the reactance. This is I0, that is the no load current. It should have two components, that is IC and IM. IC is flowing through R0, IM is flowing through X0. Now we join two circuits together. Therefore, the center part, two coils, will now be disappeared. And here the EMF that will be induced will be equal to the EMF induced in the primary side as well as in the secondary side. So it can be represented as E1, and that is equal to E2 dash. Now, in this case, the current that is flowing in the secondary side, that means to the load, is considered as I0. The resistance of the primary winding, when it is transferred to the secondary winding, it is represented by R2 naught, R2 dash, and the reactance is represented by X2 dash. Remember here R2 dash means it is the resistance of the secondary referred to primary, and its value is N1 by N2 square into R2. R2 is the resistance of the secondary winding. But when we transfer the secondary winding resistance to the primary side, then its value will be changed and the new value will be considered as R2 dash. This is called the resistance of the secondary winding referred to primary side. Similarly, X2 dash, that is the secondary reactance referred to primary, and it will be again N1 by N2 square into X2. X2 is the reactance of the secondary side, but when it will be transferred to the primary, it will be considered as X2 dash, reactance of the secondary winding referred to primary side. Similarly, the voltage across the load is considered as V2 dash, and V2 dash will be equal to N1 by N2 into V2. V2 was previously it was the voltage across the load, but when we change the circuit as a primary circuit, then the voltage across the load will be V2 dash and it will be equal to this value. Now here the circuit can be again modified by transferring this parallel part at the beginning of the circuit. So here it is. This is considered as the approximate equivalent circuit of the single phase transformer referred to primary. It is considered as the equivalent circuit of the transformer referred to primary side, and this is approximate equivalent circuit of the transformer referred to primary side. The only changes are made here. This parallel part of the circuit is transferred at the beginning. So it will be I naught, here it will be IC, IM. I1 is the primary current, so it will be I2 dash. Here we have joined two resistances, that is the resistance of the primary and the resistance of the secondary referred to primary side. And this combined two resistances is considered as R01. So here R01 is basically equal to R1 plus R2 dash, where the value of R2 dash is represented here. This is considered as the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to primary. This is the total resistance of the transformer referred to primary side. Similarly, two reactances, that means the reactance of the primary winding and the reactance of the secondary winding referred to primary, are joined together, and here we will get X01, that is the reactance of the equivalent reactance of the transformer referred to primary. So it will be equal to X1 plus X2 dash, where X2 dash is represented here. So in this case, if we want to find the losses or any other parameter, we can easily calculate, because here the total transformer circuit is converted to a single circuit, approximate equivalent circuit. This circuit is further simplified like this, where it is the I1, I0, it is IC, it is R0, it is X0, it is IM. Here it is R01, equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to primary, and here it is X01, equivalent reactance of the transformer referred to primary side. So this is the simplified equivalent, approximate equivalent circuit of the single phase transformer referred to primary side. Now, if we want to draw the equivalent circuit of the single phase transformer referred to secondary side, that means this is the original equivalent circuit. Here it is I0, IC, IM, it is I1 dash, and rest we have already discussed. In this case, referred to secondary, we will transfer all the parameters of the primary side to the secondary part. Therefore, the circuit will be look like this. Here, each and every parameter of the primary will be changed in terms of the secondary side. Here, R01 will be, sorry, R1 dash will be equal to N2 by N1 into R1. This is called the resistance of the primary referred to secondary side. Similarly, X1 dash is equal to, it will be square, N2 by N1 square. It will be N2 by N1 square into X1. That is the reactance of the primary side referred to secondary. Similarly, V1 dash, each and every value will be converted in terms of the secondary side. The main thing that you have to remember that in this case, the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to secondary will be represented as R2 plus R1 dash. This is the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to secondary. It is equal to R2 plus R1 dash, where R1 dash is here. Similarly, the equivalent reactance of the transformer referred to secondary can be written as X2 plus X1 dash. So it is the equivalent reactance of the transformer referred to secondary. X2 is the reactance of the secondary side. X1 dash is the reactance of the primary referred to secondary side. Here it is the value of X1 dash. Now, if we want to find, let's say, if we want to find the total losses that we will discuss later, let's say the total copper loss. Copper loss means I square R loss. So in original circuit, the copper loss of the primary side will be equal to I1 square into R1, and the copper loss in the secondary side will be I2 square into R2. It can be considered as the copper loss as well as the ohmic loss. But if you want to find the copper loss in terms of the primary value, we can write it I1 square into R01. Here R01 is the total equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to primary side. And if it is multiplied by R1 square, it will give the total copper loss. Again, it can be written as I2 square into R02, where R02 is the equivalent resistance of the transformer referred to secondary, and I2 is the secondary current. So instead of two different calculations, we can calculate by only using this formula or by only using this formula to calculate the total copper loss. Similarly, the other parameters can also be calculated by using the approximate equivalent circuit, either referred to primary or referred to secondary side. It can be seen that the values that are calculated based on the approximate equivalent circuit, it is almost same as that of the original calculation. So there will be not very much difference between the actual calculation and the calculation based on the approximate equivalent circuit. So generally, in case of transformer, when the parameters, losses, efficiency, etc. are calculated, it is always considered as the approximate equivalent circuit, and generally it is taken as referred to secondary side. Thank you.